Board of Supervisors to order. I would like to ask everyone to please stand and join with us in the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mr. Chrisman.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Before we have public comment, I would like to report the Board of Supervisors met in executive session prior to this meeting, and we'll meet afterwards to receive information from the Township Manager and the Township Solicitor. With that, it's time for public comment. This would be for an item not on the agenda this evening. Please give us your name and address, although we know it, but
Thank you. I'm here tonight on behalf of the Friendship Center just to give you an update of some things that are going on in January. First of all, as a reminder, we have our 20th anniversary celebration. It's going on January 24th. This is a free event for the public. We're going to have the pool open. The members of the Lower Paxton Township Police are going to be there. They're going to be assisting kids with the climbing wall. We're going to have crafts, an obstacle course, cake, and we're going to be honoring our charter members who have been members since the beginning to present. So come on out for a free night at the Friendship Center. Also, as a reminder, we have classes that have started. As a reminder to the members of the township, you don't have to be a member to join a class. So if you want to come try a class, it's $10. You can stop in for a night, or you could just pay for a class. So if anybody wants to check that out, they're available. We have our day camp. If you remember the last time I was here, we had the day camp for over the holidays. Our summer day camp registration is going to be starting March 17th. Our holiday day camp sold out last year. The summer day camp sold out in the very first day. It's been a very, very popular feature for the center the last couple of years. So if any of the residents want to sign up for that, make sure you try to check that out on March 17th. For the insurance members, a lot of people don't know this, but as I've talked to the board in the past, insurance memberships have been our biggest increase category of membership over the last few years. But what a lot of people don't know is many people can join the center for free with their memberships, with their insurance. A lot of the Medicare Advantage plans include that as part of it, as a benefit to their insurance plans. So if there's anybody out there who has a Medicare Advantage plan, or if they just want to check to see if their membership would allow them to have a free membership to the center, just stop on out. We can check that out. And for those that do have memberships, please understand that you have to scan your cards. That's how we get paid. So if you have a membership through your insurance plan, a lot of times you walk in, people hold the door for you. Just be courteous and walk in, but you got to scan that card. That's how we get paid. So that's important for people to remember that. And finally, the board last night voted for our financial assistance program to award over $5,000 for members of the community who may not otherwise be able to afford memberships or programming. This is a financial assistance program that's funded by contributions from businesses in the community. So we'll have over $5,000 to award for people who might be interested in applying for that. If you are interested, you can come to the front desk and file an application. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Would any other member of the public like to address the board on a matter not on the agenda this evening? Do you have an item? Oh, okay. you look like you were trying to decide whether or not if you did.
If you stand up, then you have to speak.
Like the auction, you raise your hand.
Yeah.
Thank you. Didn't want to miss anybody. Okay, with that, we will move to item 4, a presentation on the ever-popular Joint Pollution Reduction Plan with CRW and Susquehanna Township. And we welcome back Mr. Wolf and HRG.
Yes. Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
And HRG.
Yes. We do have Aaron Latavich here from HRG as well.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And just to give a brief introduction to this item, I feel it would be appropriate. because you may be surprised to see a ghost of a manager's past here, but Mr. Wolf is joining us to give this presentation on this important issue because Mr. Wolf has been intimately involved in this project since its inception and before its inception. So he is obviously the most qualified and equipped at this point to provide such a presentation to the board ahead of action on agenda item number 5. So Mr. Wolf and Aaron are here, and without further ado, I would ask that they...
Do we have to pass some sort of a special resolution to allow Mr. Wolf to appear, or?
You just couldn't stay away, could you?
No. Welcome
Can you
back,
spell
George.
your name again, sir? I think there's an E.
You didn't realize you were going to be harassed even before you started, did you?
Believe me.
Good evening.
Good evening, board members. Thank you for having me back tonight. This is very much a cameo appearance. As Brad indicated, the reason why I'm here is this has been an effort that began over 5 years ago with Lower Paxton Township, Susquehanna Township, and CRW, Capital Region Water, which at that time wasn't even Capital Region Water, getting together to talk about the Paxton Creek TMDL. And I'll get into that in a little bit. But this 5-year effort is now getting to the point of implementation. And the parties, of course, Susquehanna, Lower Paxton, and CRW, are all here in some fashion to talk about an intergovernmental cooperation agreement for the preparation and implementation of a joint stormwater pollutant reduction plan. Now, board members, the plan that I'm talking about has been prepared by HRG. This plan was initially submitted to DEP in September of 2017. Reviews have been ongoing, and because this is an intermunicipal plan and because it affects a stream with a TMDL, DEP kind of laid this plan on a pile, did other municipal plans for pollution reduction purposes, and then got to our plan. As a result, we're now, over 2 years into the process of having a review of this plan. A second submission of the plan was made at the end of the year, and this plan is now being reviewed in final form. Lower Paxton Township, on behalf of the 3 municipalities, held a public hearing on this pollutant reduction plan. Randy Allen, that was in November of this past year. So this has been submitted on your behalf. Now, before I stammer on, and some of you may have seen this slide already, I'm going to talk about an NPDES permit, National Pollutant Discharge Elimination System permit. We're required to have one. Previously, we had a general permit, which has expired. We have not had a valid permit for several years now. Not our fault. We now have to have an individual NPDES permit because we have waterways, Paxton Creek, that are polluted and under a TMDL, further down, total maximum daily load for sediment. We have to remove sediment in Paxton Creek because of the total maximum daily load. Other acronyms that you need to be aware of, because I'll probably spout them out here as I go on. MS4, that's a municipal separate storm sewer system. We have that. So does Susquehanna Township. Capital Region Water has both an MS4 and they also have a combined system. Their combined system is not part of this plan for remediation purposes. That's a whole nother issue that CRW is addressing. PRP, Pollutant Reduction Plan, the plan I just held up. It's how we are going to remove sediment from Paxton Creek, also from Lower Paxton Township, township-wide, and I'll get to that in a minute. Best management practice, BMP. That's the specific improvement that is undertaken, that is approved by the Department of Environmental Protection to remove sediment, thus achieving our TMDL, total maximum daily load requirement. And the ICA, Intergovernmental Cooperation Agreement, that's the agreement that you're going to act upon tonight by resolution. This agreement is the second one that you will act upon with these other two parties. The first agreement was submitted to DEP as part of our original submission of the pollution reduction plan, and the first agreement provided only for the preparation of the plan. The three municipalities equally shared the cost for preparation of the plan. We engaged HRG and others to prepare the plan and submit it on our behalf. That has been done. We're now hoping that we receive favorable and minor comments on the final version of the plan, and we can begin implementation of the plan. The new ICA will provide for implementation of the PRP. Shelley or Brad? Now, the plan, this document, again, is not just one document. It is the Chesapeake Bay Pollutant Reduction Plan that we are required to submit because we are an MS4 municipality. It will cover both Paxton Creek, Beaver Creek, and Spring Creek in Lower Paxton Township. It is also our Paxton Creek TMDL plan because Paxton Creek is under specific limitations for sediment. It has to have a special pollutant reduction plan. Because Paxton Creek empties into Wildwood Lake, the municipalities that are tributary to Wildwood Lake also have to submit a Wildwood Lake pollutant reduction plan. That is contained in this document as well. And then this document also contains a pollutant reduction plan for Spring Creek. Now, Spring Creek in Lower Paxton Township is relatively unpolluted by standards that are used to judge streams. However, in Susquehanna Township and in the city of Harrisburg, portions of Spring Creek are also under, I don't think they're under a TMDL, but they're under, there's an impairment. Okay. I didn't put, there's no acronym for impairment, board members, I'm sorry. Next slide, please. Now, our stormwater management program, we're implementing an MS4 program that is, as I mentioned, under an expired NPDES permit, and includes multi-year stormwater facility capital improvements. Those capital improvements are in part designed to reduce sediment to both the Paxton Creek drainage basin and also to the Beaver Creek and Spring Creek as part of the Chesapeake Bay Pollutant Reduction Plan. We have applied for, as I said, our NPDES permit, our individual NPDES permit through this document. That application was submitted at the end of last year. We are expecting favorable action from the department very shortly. Would you have any idea what shortly is?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Sorry.
Again, this plan takes care of our requirements to address the Chesapeake Bay, the Paxton Creek TMDL, our requirements for sediment reduction for Wildwood Lake, and anything else that we need to do in an unnamed tributary to Spring Creek. And when I say Chesapeake Bay, our pollutant reduction plan, that includes Beaver Creek and Spring Creek and Lower Paxton Township. Our stormwater plan also includes the fact that Lower Paxton Township has transferred stormwater facilities and authorities to its Lower Paxton Township Authority, and it has established a stormwater fund to fund improvements that is funded by a stormwater management fee and a recent general obligation bond issuance that this board has undertaken. Our requirements for sediment reduction, I've listed them there, board members, but in the Chesapeake Bay, Beaver Creek, and Spring Creek for Lower Paxton Township, and for Wildwood Lake, reduction of sediment that's created by Lower Paxton Township, and for Spring Creek in general, which is impaired but not under a TMDL. There is a requirement that sediment be reduced by 10%. In Paxton Creek, which is under a TMDL, there's a requirement that sediment reduction occur in 10% over the next 5 years and 35% long term. Those numbers, board members, are what currently exist and what our individual NPDES permit is expected to be issued upon. That permit will be for 5 years. What will happen at the end of that 5-year period is anybody's guess, but I have not seen stormwater, water quality regulatory requirements reduced at any time in my professional career. I would expect that they could be increased as we move forward. Next one. Okay, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, we entered into our first ICA, Intergovernmental Cooperation Agreement, in August of 2017. That was preparation of the plan itself. Now, the resolution that's before you tonight is to adopt a second Intergovernmental Cooperation Agreement with Susquehanna Township and CRW. The proposed ICA includes an implementation schedule, cost allocation of each BMP by task order, and there's a listing of BMPs in the plan. Disposition of payments, how we will pay for the improvements that will be implemented. Establishment of a construction fund, how we'll answer change orders, and final completion certificates for each individual project with reconciled final project costs. In short, without board action on this Intergovernmental Cooperation Agreement, there's no mechanism for the 3 entities to actually implement the plan that they have submitted to DEP. This will provide for plan implementation. Lower Paxton Township's percentage of responsibility per this plan is 57%, and the plan, total estimated costs of the plan, and these are planning costs, these are not engineered costs, are a little under $13 million. Board members, this is presented to you tonight by resolution. It's one of the reasons why you didn't see this last year. Recent state legislation allows you to adopt this by resolution as opposed to ordinance. An ordinance would take a long public notice that would cost you several $100s in a newspaper or local publication, but the state action to allow this board and Susquehanna Township to adopt it by resolution takes effect January 6th, so you're now in a position, January 7th, so you're now in a position to adopt it by resolution. Capital Region Water as an authority has already adopted the plan by resolution. Susquehanna Township is expected to adopt the plan at its next meeting it's either at the end of January or beginning of February. Board members, you should also be aware that although this plan and the Intergovernmental Cooperation Agreement that is going to implement the plan is before you tonight, efforts to actually implement the plan have been ongoing for a while. Lower Paxton Township has been successful in obtaining grant funds from the Commonwealth Financing Authority. I believe it was $300,000, Randy? $275,000, and that is for the, I'm going to get it wrong, Stonebridge Stormwater Project. Board members, we've talked about that when I was still going on road tours. So that project will be implemented. That's part of the pollution reduction plan. I can also tell you that the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation is very interested in partnering with the 3 municipal entities, partly because it's an intergovernmental cooperation agreement to address stormwater, and it is a plan that is being implemented in an area where they're undertaking excessive construction activities. PennDOT right now has advertised their intent to issue specifications for stormwater improvements within the Paxton Creek area with an expended expenditure of approximately $1 million. As we've talked in the past, the municipalities have already, at least verbally, committed to PennDOT that they want to commit at least $1 million of construction funds as well. So that would be a $2 million project. So if you take Stonebridge and the PennDOT projects in total, you probably will have $2.5 million of expenditures for improvements in the Paxton Creek area, which will also benefit Beaver Creek and Spring Creek and Lower Paxton. That will be ongoing in some fashion even before the pollutant reduction plan is approved by DEP. Board members, I have completed the presentation that I wanted to give to you, and certainly you may have questions on that. The resolution is before you this evening, as well as a copy of the ICA, Intergovernmental Cooperation Agreement. So if you have any questions, I or Aaron or Randy will attempt to address them. Thank you. Yes, Mr. Zumas.
So I assume cost sharing equates to cost savings?
In my opinion, yes.
So utilizing that philosophy, why did we exclude Derry, West Hanover, and South Hanover that are in the same boat that we are?
Well, that's an easy question, but there's 2 answers. First, Derry and South Hanover aren't part of the Paxton Creek drainage basin. This drainage, the whole impetus, and this was a meeting that was convened by Aaron over 5 years ago in their office. The whole impetus behind the 3 municipalities getting together was we all have one stream that is under restrictions. We're all under the same restrictions. We want to do improvements together to benefit the drainage basin and jointly comply with the requirement of 10%, 35% sediment reduction. So Derry and South Hanover and West Hanover would not be eligible to participate on that basis. Now, Middle Paxton Township, Swatara Township, Paxton, those 3 municipalities also have very, very, very small portions of the Paxton Creek drainage basin within their municipality. In fact, Swatara Township, their portion of the Paxton Creek drainage basin happens to be the old Harrisburg Hospital grounds, which is state property. Their percentage contribution was so de minimis that Lower Paxton, Susquehanna, and CRW decided we're just going to go this alone, adding 3 more municipalities to the mix who have minimal contribution is just going to make it more difficult to get to where we are today. And again, that was 5 years ago. Other questions?
Mr. Wolf, on the slide that you had that had the required settlement, I know you said that they have not changed, probably will not, but if anything, they'll go up. Is there any way for us to determine if they will go up? Because I'm making an assumption, right or wrong, that if they go up, it's going to cost obviously more money to do that. Is there any way to determine or estimate that in fact it is going to go up, and if so, at what rate will additional costs be borne by us?
No, there's no way to determine at this point in
I figured
time.
that was the answer, but I thought I'd ask.
This has been an evolving process. If you go back in Lower Paxton Township over 10 years ago, the Paxton Creek TMDL was issued for not only sediment but also phosphorus. Right. And we litigated that against both DEP and EPA because there's no mechanism to actually remove phosphorus from the watershed other than removing sediment. And we were ultimately successful in that litigation in that Paxton Creek was determined not to be impaired for phosphorus, only sediment by DEP, which then EPA couldn't enforce a TMDL upon us for that purpose. But we spent many thousands of dollars in that litigation to end up getting then the TMDL for sediment anyway. If you look at the history for stormwater sanitary sewage treatment plants, there has been significant upgrade of all the sewage treatment plants that contribute to the Susquehanna River Basin. And we paid close to $20 million to, I believe, Soltara Township and the upgrade of their sewage treatment plant. I forget what we paid to CRW and the upgrade of their sewage treatment plant to comply with new requirements for water quality. That's been over 5 years ago. I can tell you that sewage treatment plans are again being looked at as a source of water quality improvement. And I don't know how sewage treatment plants are going to upgrade further to improve the effluent that they discharge anymore. So it's a moving target. We don't know where it will move to next. The last thing that I heard was that I believe it's the governor of the state of Maryland, Virginia, wants to take legal action against Pennsylvania because we haven't come close to meeting water quality goals in the Chesapeake Bay drainage basin.
I think that's Maryland.
It was Maryland. It was in the news last week. Yeah. Because of the sediment going into the Susquehanna River.
Correct.
Are we responsible for any of that?
Yes, we are. And that's what this plan, part of it is the Chesapeake Bay Pollutant Reduction Plan.
Right.
Right.
And township-wide for Beaver Creek, Spring Creek, and Paxton Creek to the Chesapeake Bay were responsible. But then Paxton Creek's in worse conditions, so we have extra responsibility there. And we're also responsible for Wildwood Lake. And I don't know how many of you have actually been to Wildwood Lake recently, but there was a time where you could boat on Wildwood Lake. Any boat you put on it today is going to get caught in the mud. And much of that mud is from Lower Paxton Township.
Because you can see it from the industrial road.
Correct.
In the back.
And to complicate matters further, and it's not part of any of the thing that we're discussing now, but Wildwood Lake is a county-owned facility.
Is what?
A county-owned facility.
Right.
Other questions?
I'll ask you another question I probably know the answer to, but I'll ask anyway. Especially with the reduction plan in bullet number 2, with regard to the requirement for after 5 years. Question is, who's monitoring and what's the penalty if it's not accomplished in 5 years? And I assume that's an unknown at this point.
Well, it would be a violation of your NPDES permit if you don't make the 35% reduction. I feel confident, given you've already started to implement, and you don't. And the time frame doesn't start until they actually issue the permit. So you've already started to implement at this point in time. So I feel confident that you will, especially with PennDOT's interest in jointly doing projects. What DEP has told the 3 municipalities, 3 municipal entities, and PennDOT is any dollars we jointly spend, each entity will get full credit for pollution reduction.
Oh, okay.
So
That's
we'll
positive.
get if PennDOT would spend $1 million, we'll get $1 million worth of PennDOT credit in Lower Paxton Township as well.
Good.
Very good.
So, George, we've been working on it for 2 years. Is that 2 years part of the 5, or the 5 doesn't start till we get the permit?
5 doesn't start till we get the
Get
permit.
approval. Good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Again, the resolution allows you to adopt the ICA. The ICA is before you. CRW has approved it, and I expect that Susquehanna Township will approve it at their next meeting. Thank you, board members.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, George. Okay. With that, we have before us Resolution 2020-02. This to authorize an intergovernmental cooperation agreement with Susquehanna Township and CRW for the preparation and implementation of a joint PRP. With that resolution before us, are there any questions or comments on the resolution?
Not a question, but rather a comment. Since I'll make the motion, I'm going to make the motion contingent upon Susquehanna Township also agreeing to the resolution. And I would ask that, Mr. Gutschall, if you would keep us posted on the progress of Susquehanna Township. I assume they're going to do it. Nonetheless, I think ours needs to be contingent upon their signature since they've not already signed.
I'll keep the board apprised.
Can you approve a resolution contingent upon action by another governmental body?
Yes.
Okay. Any public questions or comments? Seeing none, it would be appropriate for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve Resolution 2020-02, which authorizes an intergovernmental cooperation agreement with Susquehanna Township and CRW for the preparation and implementation of a joint PRP contingent upon the signature of Susquehanna Township.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any additional questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Mr. Wolf, thank you for many years of labor on that. Many years of labor on that.
Thank you, George.
That now takes us to improvement guarantees, of which, or improvement guarantee, of which there is only one. Mr. Gotchell, nothing seems to be out of the ordinary on this one.
Nothing out of place, no.
Any questions? Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I'll move we approve the improvement guarantee for Hawthorne Suites as presented and recommended by Mr. Gutschall.
So moved. Is there a second?
A second.
Seconded. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Any additional comments by the members of the board or manager? The next board meeting will be a business meeting, and it will take place 1 week from tonight on Tuesday, January 21st at 7 p.m. in this room. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.